Hey everybody, this is Javi, and you are watching the Inner Child Collective YouTube channel where you and your inner child heal for the better. Welcome and hello. If you are just now finding this channel, let me introduce myself real quick. My name is Javi Mason, and I'm a psychic, intuitive medium, and author who specializes in inner child therapy. And how that works is this: I emphasize on how the impact of intergenerational and historical trauma has had an impact on us as children, how we adopted certain archetypes in order to survive the hostility that we have gone through and the trauma that we've gone through as children, and how we can actually let go of those archetypes. In fact, rewrite stories that have been stored in our unconscious mind in order for us to heal as people and to heal as a collective, starting with the individual. And so today I am doing a pick a card reading, focusing on the inner child and what they have to say to you in order, what message they have for you as far as your purpose. What is your purpose according to your inner child? And so if you resonate with the messages in any way, shape, or form, by all means, click that subscribe button so you will never miss another video, because I'll be doing these every week. Also, you can click on the like button, let people know that I'm here, share the content, because the more people know about the inner child and how we can heal from our traumas doing inner child work, the better. So let's get started with this. So I really want y'all to take a deep breath here, because we have some really beautiful cards here. Some of them I'm just now using for the first time as far as this channel or just in general. So I'm really excited about what happens here. I would like you to take a deep breath and choose a number between 1 and 3, because we have 3 piles here for you to choose from. So you can choose 1, 2, or 3. Just take a deep breath. Don't even think about it. Don't think too hard. Just take a deep breath and choose the numbers 1 through 3. 1, 2, and 3. On that note, let's get started. So hey everybody, so this is for group number 1 right here, group number 1. And so y'all have some beautiful cards here. So the archetype that you have received, because I asked the spirit, like, what archetype represents group number 1? And y'all have the storyteller. And the storyteller is a beautiful card because it tells you about you being a storyteller, you making up stories, having a beautiful imagination as a child. And so as a result of your archetype, like, you use stories to actually help yourself get through very difficult situations. You have a powerful imagination. You have a powerful way of telling stories. And so you either wrote stories on your own, or you just have like this story, that you would like to tell the world. And the upside of that is that you really do have stories that you have for the world to hear. So be aware of that. Be aware of your power of words, and be aware of your power to tell stories. Even though you have the power to tell your stories, or to be a scribe, or to be, regardless of how you tell your stories, even though you have the power to influence other people through your stories or with your words, you also have the tendency, which is the flip side, to use your stories to disempower yourself at times. So be aware of what you're thinking, and be aware of what you're saying to yourself when you tell these stories. A lot of what you heard about yourself basically is about what other people have heard, what you've heard other people say to you. You heard about a lot of lies about yourself, and so those stories became very much stored into your unconscious mind. And so you are to be careful not to hex yourself, or to poison yourself and poison your mind any further, because it's to the point where you adopted and internalized a lot of this archetype, the storyteller archetype, because it's your way of making sense of yourself, and making sense of the world and what's been said to you. But you also are to be careful about the stories you're telling yourself as a result of your trauma, and as a result of the lies about yourself that you have heard as a child. So that is like what I am getting here, like, you have the tendency like to have a powerful imagination, but also don't let your imagination get the best of you, because what that means is that um you have the tendency to believe that a lot of what you say about yourself, the negative stuff, you're you feel that that is true. You believe that that is true, and you have the tendency to act that out. So be aware, storyteller. Group number one, your inner child is basically saying like you have like so much heart and so much conviction and so much truth to tell people, but be aware of the stories you tell yourself and try to differentiate between the lies you heard about yourself and the, the truth about yourself, which is you're very powerful. You have a powerful imagination, and you can use storytelling to connect with other people and connect with the world. In fact, that is part of your purpose, to use stories. Maybe go into writing or or playwriting or stage plays, something of that nature. Maybe like being like a professional storyteller, doing something, using your truth and using your, in a sense, use your trauma stories to a certain degree, to influence other people to heal and influence people to pretty much look at you as a person of healing. Okay, so just be aware that your inner child is waiting to tell their story. That's another thing too. Your story, since you are, this is not a bad archetype at all. This really isn't. It's not like you are playing a victim or anything like that by telling your story, but you are to be aware of the power you have through your words and through your means of storytelling, so, or your ways to tell a story. So just be aware of that, right, when you're going through the healing process, because your inner child has a lot of stories and they are willing and very ready to tell them, but you are to be ready to tell them as well. Okay, so you're a very interesting kid, I will say this. I asked the spirit, like, what were you like as a child? And so what I got here is that you're extremely powerful here. So you were a child who, you got the Seven of Pentacles upside down, and so there was a lot of times where you felt like you were not being seen and heard, and what you were trying to build for yourself wasn't taken seriously. And so there was a time where you were worried. Okay, you were a child who was always worried about not being seen and heard. Okay, so that was one part that you had that came up, because you definitely, as a child, I'm getting like, around 5 or 6 years old, you're like, you were one of those kids, like you had like a story to tell. You're always talking. That's another thing too. Like you were a child who was always talking, but for whatever reason, you cannot um, put into words how you were feeling, and so now you felt like very unseen and unheard. And when I think of Pentacles, I mean very much material, but what I'm getting to is that you were a child who definitely did not feel seen or heard. And so as a result, it's not just about money, it's about grounding as well, because the pentacles are about grounding as well as not just about finances. So you felt very discombobulated and very ungrounded as a result of not being heard and not being seen. And how can you actually grow into into like a storyteller, or be encouraged to be a storyteller, if you're surrounded by people who ain't trying to hear you, right? So you also, Eight of Cups. Basically, what I'm getting from here is that as a result of you not, wait a minute, as a result of you not being seen and heard, you had like very like some rituals that you have hung on to, a lot of coping mechanisms, okay, that involves you being hurt and covering up your hurt. So this is not is surprising to me that you're being told it was really hard for you to like let go of these rituals. You were like, it's about time, and that's the thing to thing as well. Like over time, you learn to let go of rituals. You learn to let go. This is why the moon is here. But what I'm getting is that like for the time being, you were like, you had like some habits that you have accumulated as a result of not being seen and heard. It's as if like something covered up all that stuff that you had going on within you. And so it would not surprise me. I'm just getting like, this is actually later on in life. Like like 8 or 9 years old, I'm not later on in life, like basically older as far as you as a child, like later on in life, maybe around 9, maybe 10 years old, I'm getting nail biting, hair pulling, um, possibly pacing back and forth, possibly even talking to yourself, like doing something, right, to cope with what was going on, because you just felt like you felt very silenced, and you just you didn't see yourself as powerful at that time, and you were just very much unseen, which is why this is one of the reasons why the cloak came up. That's how I see, like, you're concealing yourself because you were meant to you were pretty much observant and seeing what everything was going on, but you had to cloak and hide your feelings. You had to cloak and hide yourself in order to survive. I'm also getting to like the Three of Cups here. What I'm getting like is usually celebration, but it's also overindulgent. Excuse me. I'm definitely getting something. Excuse me. I'm definitely getting this like, ooh, like doing your I'm not like getting like during, I guess, like during your teenage years, as a result of not being seen and heard, you may have like indulged in some alcoholism or some sort of addiction and just overindulged, right? And you may have done this with other people, um, or people who had like a really bad influence on you. I mean, I'm getting like this is like around the teenage years. Um, Oh wow, like y'all started young, huh? Around 12, maybe 11 years old, where you like pretty much like I want to say like developed some sort of addiction to something or something to where like it just took you from reality. That's what it is. That's what it is. Whatever coping mechanism you had at one point, it definitely took you away from reality. Thank you, Spirit. It took you away from reality. It took you away from the reality that you had, that you were living in, and it just became like a form of escapism. You were always looking for a form of escape as a child because of what was going on, and that's what really fueled your stories. I don't know, like it's not just about addiction as well, like drugs and substances or anything like that. It can be like reading, it can be like going into your own mind and just making up a story. And so since you're a storyteller, right? Um, group number one, what ended up happening is that like I'm getting like you indulge in some like storytelling, maybe books, maybe writing, as a form of escapism. It wasn't just like you just picking up a substance and going a buck wild. It wasn't like that. It was basically you using whatever you can get your hands on to escape the reality that you were facing, because there was a lot of stuff that was going on. There was a lot of turmoil that was going on with you. Um, I know for me, and I feel like I kind of resonate with like a story, this with y'all group number one, because I use books and storytelling myself in order to disengage from what was going on in my personal life, because there was a lot of chaos going on. There was a lot of abuse going on, not only in my home, but in my grandmother's house as well, because I've witnessed so much abuse there as well. Even though, like, in some cases, it was a safe haven. And what I am getting is that you found something. You found maybe books or reading or some sort of advice that involved you going into your imagination and using that to escape your reality. And it just became an addiction as a result. And now it was to the point where you could not, for whatever reason, or maybe you may have had some difficulty, or maybe it started. Um, you differentiating reality from the fiction that you placed in your mind, and so it just began to blur after a while. Okay, it began to blur, and um that caused a lot of problems mentally and emotionally, because what you are seeing in real life did not match what you had in your head, and it caused a lot of friction within the inside of you as a result. Okay, so I also have here, you also have here, oh wow, Knight of Swords, Seven of Cups. You have a lot of these. Shit. So basically, like, you have a lot of cups here, cups and pentacles. So it doesn't surprise me at all, because storytelling does, um, it does like derive from your emotions, right? And what you've gone through. And like there was like this, what I'm getting is that like a lot of your power comes from your storytelling. But at this time, as a child, like you didn't have time to grieve a lot of the time. Well, I got here like nine of swords. You did not have time to grieve. You didn't have time to put yourself in the position to grieve, um, like psychologically, what was going on, like or to you didn't have time to cry, or maybe you've been told in some way, shape, or form that your feelings did not matter. Okay, your feelings didn't matter. How you felt did not matter. The here and now is what mattered. You may have had parents, who told you that, you're not going through anything enough to grieve. You're not going through anything to be depressed. You're not going through anything enough to be acting this way and that way, feeling that way. So you have no opinion. You have nothing going on. What business do you have to be sad or feel anything outside of gratitude? And so you did not have the wherewithal, the psychological wherewithal to even cope with your feelings and cope with what was going on. So you really didn't have, because you were in survival mode, you really didn't give yourself the space necessary to really cry, right? To cry about what was going on. I really am getting, at this point, this is your teenage self. This is definitely your teenage self, group number one. There was stuff going on in your, and you were going through a lot of stuff as well. Like, let's be real, the teenage brain and teenage hormones and the teenage experience is very different from that of a small child. So you are growing into your own person. You're growing into your own, having your own ideologies. You want autonomy. You crave privacy, right? There is so much that is going on in your brain and your body at this point. I really am getting 13, 14 years old at this point, that you had no way to wrap your head around it, because no one sat you down and like spit facts about the teenage brain, how you're going through these hormonal changes, how you are going to think with your emotions rather than your rational mind. Like the limbic system is, is basically your second brain. No one is teaching you these things. No one's teaching you or making it. They're not normalizing it for you, and as a result of them not normalizing it for you, you're pretty much being made to feel as a burden. So you were often in survival mode, and you just pretty much further went into yourself, even though you had like this desire, right, to be open and honest about something of what was going on with you. You wanted to be open and honest about it, and you did not have an outlet. You felt like you didn't have an outlet. So that tells you right there, like you didn't hone your craft as a storyteller yet. You didn't know how to use stories to empower yourself and to um, make sense of the situation that was going on. You were still caught in this blur between reality and fiction that you made up in your mind. These stories that were very, very different from your reality. There were a lot. I'm getting like a lot of stories. Um, I'm getting television shows, television that played a huge part in these stories. They very much influenced you in regards to how family is supposed to be like. And so what you saw on television in regards to these suburban families who had their shit together and were like cohesive and communicative, you did not get that in real life. And so your brain cannot it cannot compute, and you're very upset and you're very angry at the fact that what you received in reality was completely different from what you saw on television. There was a time when you actually wished that you had that you had those experiences that you saw on the media. I'm also getting Seven of Cups here. What I'm getting is that, again, you had dreams of your own, you have emotions of your own, and they're not being seen and heard. Okay, like that's what I'm getting. Like, this is about dreams. This is about having ambitions, right? And you felt like your ambitions, you had so many dreams, I'm getting, and they were not being you didn't feel like you could, what I'm getting is that you felt like they were impossible. Because again, you, whatever life that you wanted for yourself, and at that time, you felt like there was just no end in sight in regards to achieving, you know, like there was no end in sight to the bullshit you were going through as a child, as a teen rather. So over time, you're like, I need to get the fuck out of here. I need to get out of here. But you felt like it was impossible. That's what it is. You felt like it was impossible. You knew that there was something greater for you out there. There was, even though you were going through what you were going through, you knew there was, it's like this glimmer of hope that you have within you that states that in order for you, you have a higher purpose. You have a higher purpose in this. You have a higher purpose. There is more to your life, and there is more to your experiences. There is more to you than what you're going through right now in this time period. Okay, 15, 16 years old. I say between the ages of 13, 14 years old for the other card, 15 and 16 here. They're telling me right here, you were in high school at this time, thinking about this, even though like it was, you still had your experiences maybe with the supernatural or the paranormal. But what I am getting is that at this time you were really thinking like 15, 16 years old, I gotta get out of here. I gotta get out of this mess. I'm going to get out of here one way or the other, because things in your house and things in your family, or things in your overall immediate environment was getting so hostile and so bad that you were looking for an escape route. Your mind played a huge role. Your imagination played a huge role, and you eventually possibly manifesting your way out of this situation. But for now, you're like, this is, even though you knew that something was greater for you intuitively, you felt like there was no end in sight. And so there were many times when you had dreams of your own, or you had ambitions of your own, that they were not, in your mind, they weren't sought out or they weren't seen. So you have injustice and oh wow. So you have justice upside down. I'm getting early adulthood in this one. Early adulthood. Um oh wow. I'm at mid to late 20s. At this time, at this time of your life, um you've just felt like you're just angry. This is like, for real, like mid to late 20s. Um you are fucking angry as fuck. Like seriously, like you feel like there's so much has been done to you. There's so much injustice that you have, that has been done to you, and you feel like this is some bullshit. This is some bullshit. Why the fuck did I have to go through this? That's what you're saying. That's what you're saying in your mind. Like, I did not deserve any of this, and yet here we are. You have, like, at this point, you're so angry that you're just making up scenarios and just believing the worst in yourself and other people because of what you went through as a child. And as a result of what you went through, there's this distrust, in people. At this point, there's a distrust in people. You are often thinking to yourself, that something's always happening to you. And so at this point, you are constantly seeing yourself as the victim, or constantly seeing yourself as someone, whose people are often picking on, because again, because of the stories that have been told to you, and you reenacting these stories in some way, shape, or form, you're still reenacting them, and they're now like they've taken on a life of their own, basically. And so what I am getting from that card, the justice card, is that you're like, you don't understand or even see that you can use stories, as a form of manifestation, as a form of affirmation, as a form of divination, basically using your words and using your imagination to the best of your ability in order for you to change what's going on in your life. You're not there yet. You're not there yet, because right now you're in the process of going through a lot of drama. Some of it's necessary, but a lot of it is unnecessary. A lot of it is unnecessary, but you don't know that. All you know is that You are a victim. Things are happening to you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. Like, you just want things you it's as if like you want stuff to change, but you feel like you're not going to get those changes yet. But there's still, like, to be honest with you, like, even though you're angry and even though you're sad and depressed and all these other things, there's still this level of determination that you have. There's still this part of you that still sees, I mean, look, there has to be something better than this. There has to be something that more to this, more to my existence. Ain't no fucking way that my life is going to be this messy all the time. It can't be, right? At the same time, you feel like you feel like something's wrong with you, or something that something about you is to be fixed. So you do all this stuff, all this unnecessary stuff in order for you to, like, um, for some reason, I'm also getting grandiosity. There's this um, grandiose way of you doing things as well. Like, you feel like things are owed to you, and you often felt like, and I'm thinking in your mid to late 20s, you feel like things are owed to you because of all of what you went through, right? That's another thing that I'm getting from the justice card. You feel like because you have done enough, been through enough, that all of a sudden, um, people are to take care of you now, right? You often have, and also at this point, because of the way you use your imagination as a child and possibly as a teenager, what I'm getting is that you still have that 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 young minded way of 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 of, of doing things and way of thinking. So a lot of what you are wanting to do for yourself, a lot of the dreams you would like to accomplish, there is no fault. There's no like proper protocol as to what you're, I guess that's the word for it. Like, it's very unrealistic. The way that you like to do things is very unrealistic and very childish in a sense, because you have never been taught how to plan. You've never been taught how to um, take steps and to be patient with things. You've never been no one has seen your potential when you were a child. So you just have this magical thinking as a result of those experiences. So now at this point, you just feel like all you have to do is like the bare minimum, and or think your way out of stuff, or have someone bail you out and you'll be okay. And that's not the case at all. That's not okay, right? But you didn't know any better. You didn't know better at the time, because you were often using your imagination in a way of escapism. And now when it comes to like real life experiences, you being on your own, you still have that childlike mentality in regards to your imagination, in regards to how the world works. And so you learn very much the hard way that doesn't count, right? That doesn't do anything, right? So I'm just getting like so far, like, your imagination, you have a beautiful imagination, but sometimes it like imploded, right? And it showed up in your life, and it showed up in your real life. So now you're learning the hard way between the ages of 25 and up. You're learning the hard way how the world works, and you are learning very quickly how the world works. Okay. um and what I got here is the Five of Swords. The Five of Swords is basically about you fighting battles that don't even exist. Basically, you're the only one fighting these battles. I'm getting like late 20s, early 30s at this point. You're like, it's just very, very obvious that you're angry and just shaking your fist at the void. No one even knows what you're angry about. You don't even know what you're angry about. You have so many stories going on in your mind at this point, that what ends up happening is that you're just mad at everybody. You're just seeing it, like, you're seeing everyone's doing you wrong. There's always a fight. Okay, there is like I don't have it anymore, and it's very unfortunate, and I will replace it. But there is like the Osho Zen deck that I used to have, and there's this one card that showed a knight in rusted armor his fists are like clenched, and he has this angry, intense look in his eyes, like he is ready to fucking pop, like he is ready to go off and ready. He's ready to fight, and that's what this is like. The Five of Swords. You are just ready to go off. You're ready to go off on everybody. You use your stories, like you have at this point accumulated so many stories in your mind about how people are hurting you or trying to hurt you or trying to do you wrong, and you have not grown out of that. You are playing old tapes from your childhood. You're not worth anything. People are going to jump on you because I'm also getting bullied. You were bullied profusely. And so now you feel like people are trying to bully you, trying to undermine you, trying to undercut you, trying to hurt you, trying to kill you, all this other stuff. There's like a sense of paranoia that is going on in your mind right now. And as a result, you're always ready to fight. You're always ready to like always have your fist up, hit them up, Tupac, whatever, right? You're ready to go there because you are so much in defense mode right now. And the stories that you have in your mind, and remember, you're a storyteller, group number one. So what's happening is that these stories are going on and on and on. They're going on and on and on. And they're replaying themselves in your life. So now you don't trust nobody. You're not trying to fuck with nobody. You're not trying to you feign friendliness on your civil, but there's no real reciprocity there. It's because you're scared of getting close to people at this point. And you're ready to like I said, you have your fist up every day. But what this card is saying is that it's all in your mind. This is a one man, one woman, one person battle. Everybody else has moved on. Those wolves that are looking there, I don't know if you see this, but there are wolves, and there's one looking back at you like, what the hell? What are you doing? You are mad as hell for nothing. You are angry as hell at like childhood experiences that you can definitely overcome. Right? So that's where that card is kind of like, even the wolf in here is like, if you can see it, even they're like, what are you mad for? What are you mad for? The hell? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's how people I kind of perceive you, because the stories you placed in your mind over time. Now, as far as the shadow, I told you y'all gonna be a lot. I told you, right? You have so as a result of this, the shadow part is that what I'm getting is the five. No, I'm sorry, the 10 of air, and what I'm getting is that the shadow part is that you really do feel sometimes that you are not going to make it. I'm getting that you're asking for there's this sense of powerlessness that you feel, and you have a hard time not asking for help. You have a hard time. There's a sense of powerlessness. Like, you just feel like it's like I'm just getting like this. The shadow part is that you are to look at this learned helplessness. You are to ask for help. And ask for help from spirit. You are to see yourself as worth it. There's a lot of hurt and pain here that you're holding on to. And the shadow part of you, this is what you are to look at, this learned helplessness and this pain and suffering that you are just holding on to. And the fact that you're not asking for help from spirit, from your spirit guides, or even from people who really care about you. There is like this, and what I'm getting from this card right here, 10 of air. What I'm getting from this is that like there's a part of you that's really cut off from other people. There's a person like emotionally cut off from other people because of the stories you have in your mind. Air is basically the swords, right? It represents the swords, represents intellect, psychology, the way we think. And so what I'm getting is that there is this. It's time for you to realize that you are worth the help. My question is, and this is the question I have for this collective, for group number one is, what is preventing you? What story are you telling in your mind that prevents you from asking for help? That keeps you stuck from that keeps you stuck. That prevents you from truly being connected to other people. What story in your mind tells you that people are dangerous? Asking for help is dangerous. Asking for help and really allowing people to get close to you. What is going on there? What story? Who told you the story that people were dangerous? Where did you even learn that people were out to get you? What's the story behind that? Okay? What's the story behind it? So you have a couple of cards here as far as like, what's your purpose? Card number one, what does your inner child want you to know as far as your purpose? And so what you got rather, is visions. A lot of you like are very powerful, have powerful information coming down to you. Your minds are powerful. Your stories are powerful, right? And even though it says like psychic images, seeing, clairvoyance, yes, everyone has those abilities. Everyone is psychic. Everyone is that. But what I'm getting from this card is that you are to see your own power in regards to your visualization and where your stories can take you. It's time for you to start maybe writing books or something. Your purpose is to show people through your stories and your storytelling that they are able to envision a better world for themselves. They are to imagine a better way of living for themselves, a better way of doing things. That there is a whole life outside of trauma. You are to heal and get to the point of you really believing and feeling and acting as if there's a life outside of trauma. And you can only do that by rewriting the stories that you have in your mind, retelling those stories. Another way to reach out to people is to tell your story. Tell your story. You're not unique to the point where you're the only one going through stuff. Somebody out there wants to be a part of your tribe, which is why you're being asked to get close to people, because what's going to end up happening is that you're going to open and be more vulnerable and open yourself to people to the point where you can tell your story, and you will be able to figure out and see, right, that you are not the only one going through stuff. You're not the only one who went through your experiences. You're not the only one. You are to help people envision a better world outside of trauma, outside of pain and hurt. Okay. Also, I'm getting uh um, um in Ramna in Rama, and so what I'm getting is that your destiny is to also go through a spiritual journey. You are to go through a profound spiritual journey. Number one, you are to go through an inner journey. You are to do a lot of introspection, an inner reflection. There are times where you are going to be the hermit. Hermits are, is one of the major arcana cards in tarot, and you're going to be told and be led to go within yourself and do some inner reflection in order for you to tell your story in a way that's empowering and is empowering to you and other people. You are to literally do some work within yourself. You are to do some shadow work, some inner child work within yourself. You are to realize that everything that has been said to you, done to you, is a complete lie. It has nothing to do with you. And you are to realize that by doing your own work. What stories was the one question? What stories? What story do you have in your mind about yourself? Where did that story come from? What is the result of you believing those stories? What's the result of that? You are to believe You are to do the inner work necessary. You have to go through that journey. That's it. That is part of your purpose. Your purpose is to tell your story. In some way, shape, or form, you are to tell your story to the general public. You're not to be living in the bubble, and that means you are to do some inner work for yourself. Regardless of how painful it is, you are to pretty much like you're being called to differentiate um reality from the fiction that you like that you used, that method of storytelling and imagination you used as a means of survival. You're not meant to do that anymore. You're not meant to do that anymore. It's a coping mechanism that is no longer useful and is no longer necessary. So you are to literally ask yourself, what story am I holding on to? What story am I holding on to? What story am I telling myself? Right? So, word of encouragement is the jaguar. Jaguars know their power. They're known for their prowess. They're known for their stealth. They're known for just being slick, right? Their sleekness and their confidence in their sleekness. The color black is about not it's about shadows, doing your shadow work. So the jaguar is asking you to literally know your confidence, know your worth, know your power. Know your power. Know how powerful your mind is. Know your strength. Know that you are way more powerful than the trauma. You're way more powerful than the trauma. It's really time for you to do the inner work necessary in order for you to get to that point so you can start telling your story to people, so you can unlearn the stories, the negative stories, unlearn the coping mechanisms, that involves you telling stories to yourself, and just follow your destiny by telling your story. There are many, many people. You have tribe members, man. You have tribe. You have a tribe, but you are to find them. You can only find them by telling your story. And you are getting there. Some of y'all are actually doing the work. A lot of you are, in fact, a lot of you are. Some, like, literally, you are finding tribe members. You're finding tribal members. And you are to also learn that not everybody's for you. So that's another story you have to unlearn, that you are to be here for everybody. No, not everybody is meant to be in your tribe. You're not meant to fuck with everybody, to be honest with you. So I'm going to let you know right now that you are to find your tribe members, okay? That's what the Jaguar is doing. Like, find your people, use your imagination, use manifestation, right? Use manifestation methods to help you find your tribe. Imagine yourself with these people. Imagine yourself what what your tribe is like and what you are looking for in your tribe. Okay, like, use your imagination to your advantage. And so the last card here, word of advice. Let me read it to you. This is one of the cards I told you about, like, using it for the first time. This is actually really nice. This is actually um, little renegades, and so, like, it's about children finding core mindfulness. So this is perfect for inner child work, right? So the card is sheepskin. Relax your body like you're wrapped in a big sheep coat. What does it feel like? You are to be in the present moment. Wrap yourself. I don't know whether or not you're vegan or like sheepskin, or fuck with sheepskin or whatnot. But what this card is saying is that please be in the present moment. Wrap a blanket around you if you are just so you can feel how you feel in the moment. Because what happens is that storytellers have a tendency to, like, pretty much go everywhere. Your imaginations go wild, and and also because of the trauma, um, you are either stuck in the past or stuck in the future, never in the present moment. So what this card is saying, like, please be in the present moment. Wrap a blanket around you. Um, Another method is to, name some of the things in the room. that's in your room in the current moment, sitting down and just meditating to bring you back to center, ground yourself. I really am getting like maybe like a weighted blanket, or some sort of blanket to keep you warm, so you will be aware of where you are at that moment. Because again, your imagination is powerful, but it's time for you to use it in a way that is very affirming. Okay, so yeah, that is all I have for group number one. That was a lot. I had a lot going on. Dude, I definitely had a lot going on, but I really do. I hope that this reading finds you. Please let me know in the comments if, in any way, shape, or form, it resonated with you. And I always read the comments, always, right? So stay tuned for group number two. Hey, everybody, welcome back. So this reading is for group number two. So there's a lot going on. Hey, Shadow. Now my cat Shadow. Listen, come here. Let me show people what you look like. Speaking of jaguars, right? This is my baby boy right here. He's 2 years old. He just loves being held too. Hi, Baba. Hi, Baba. All right, you gotta go, get down. So I can read these comments. Okay. Gotta get the messages. Okay, so for group number two, so what you got as far as the archetypes that represent your inner child, you got a couple of cards. And so what I got here is scribe. And so what scribes do, y'all, you're information seekers. That's what I'm getting from this card, is that you represent like those who are always loving information, love getting information and sharing it with the world, if not writing it down. And so what I'm getting from this is that when you were a child, you just gobbled up information. And you're very proud of the information that you have sent out, and you have given to the world. And what I'm getting is that you love just giving information to the world. You love sharing information to the world. You don't keep it to yourself for the most part. And so you're the type of person who just loves to read, loves to research, loves to do all the stuff in regards to information. You just try to get as much of it as you possibly can. Like your brain, it would not be surprising at all if your brain was like an entire Wikipedia, right? And so, like, you're just like pretty much like a person who just has like useful and useless information. And so you're about just learning. You're about learning, and whatever you learn, you not only apply it to your life, but you like apply it to the lives of other people. But what I'm getting from this, as far as a scribe, is that sometimes you are like that information. It gives you power, and you are to be aware of what that power, what you do with that power. Okay, because what I'm getting from this, like this is like the card you got. So basically, this is like a wild card, and I definitely got the leader. You are very much a leader, right? With the scribe and the leader card, what can be perceived as a leader card is very much complimentary. And the reason why that is because you have the tendency to just like, you're very much a leader. You're very much whoever is like tapped into like this particular pile number two. You're very much a leader, and you're very much a leader type. Okay. And so you feel like the more information you have, the more likely you are to lead. And you are very much going down that track. In fact, I definitely see that for a lot of you. I definitely see that for y'all. You're going to change the world, if not the perception of within people's minds about themselves, with the information that you accumulate, because that's what you're here to do. You're here to be a leader. You're not one to be in the background somewhere. Is kind of very hard for you to be in the background, but at times, because especially if that you have something to say, and you have something to lead with, you're just the type of person who likes to be seen and heard, right? I'm definitely getting a leadership type of energy with y'all, and because y'all have this energy, you're doing everything you can to seek out as much information as you possibly can, so you can stay in that role and to lead with that role in your professional and personal life, especially in your professional life. Um, the flip side of that is that, like, I'm not like, as far as your information, you are to watch where you get it. You have to watch where you get to do with your information. If you're doing it to disempower somebody or to make somebody feel stupid, then you're not serving a purpose. You're just being an intellectual elitist. You're also being told to not use that, even though, like, um, having information is your power. Is your power. Make sure that it is in your own words, and make sure it's coming from you. And you are to lead by example in regards to the information you receive. Lead by example. Don't just have information out there and then, like, you're all willy-nilly with it and just doing whatever with it, or you just living a whole different life compared to what you see on TV or what people see or perceive of you. Like, be authentic and be consistent. That's what I'm getting. Be authentic and consistent with your information. Excuse me. And also, I see this as a sign too. Like, as far as me, like, listen to other people. Sometimes it's like, it's okay to be quiet. Sometimes it's okay to be quiet. It's okay to learn from other people. You don't have to know everything, is what I'm getting from this card. Because what I'm getting is that, like, with the information you have, some of y'all who are scribes have the tendency to believe that leadership means knowing everything and knowing everything, word for word, verbatim, and it's just not the case at all. So sometimes it's okay to just learn from other people, to sit back and relax and work with other people, learn from other people. You are not to be in, like, this plethora of information. Okay. So this is what that says, like, as far as you being a scribe and a leader, number two, because I definitely see that. Like, y'all don't, like, for real, not for play. Y'all don't fuck around. You know what I mean? Like, you do everything you can to study and to learn, but also be aware of how you use that information. And let it be in your own words out here. Like, you're very capable of taking information and using your own, and um, putting it in your own words. Okay. You're very intelligent. You may not believe that, but you're extremely intelligent enough, especially when it comes to information and how to use it. Okay. So as far as how you used it, how you were as a child, you're definitely one who wanted a family. You love, and what I'm getting is that this is like the Ten of Pentacles, and Ten of Pentacles is about completion. It's about happiness and completion, right? And just, and what I'm getting is that by the end of the day, like, you feel very complete when you have a cohesive family, or people who are willing to listen to you, or willing to be grounded. Okay, you were a child who just loved the idea of having your own family and being grounded as a result. Like, you strived for that. It would not surprise me at all if maybe you had, like, a huge family, or some family members that you could really be around and be yourself around. So that's what you were looking for. And to be honest with you, there's a part of you that's continuously looking for that. You were looking for your tribe. And I'm getting around 6 or 7 years of age where you realize maybe you had a picture in your mind as to what a family looks like to you. Okay. It doesn't necessarily have to be an abusive family that gets you to be this way. You could possibly be a person who comes from a very healthy family, and you see by example what a family looks like. So you're like, I want that for myself. But a lot of you, from what I'm getting to, is that you felt empty without that family. Like, you had a myopic, not even a myopic view, but you had, like, a pretty good, strong view and a strong. I'm getting the word emphasis. You have put the strong emphasis on family and being heard and being seen by family members. Okay, so there's a part of you that sought that out. Okay, Six of Swords is about seeking out. Okay, so you definitely went on this mini quest, right, to find people, find friends, and find family that are chosen, right? You believed in some way, shape, or form. You believed in the chosen family. In fact, I'm feeling like in my chest, um, it's like heart chakra stuff. So there was a lot of, you just wanted someone to love you. You wanted someone to cherish you and to accept you for who you were. Because I really am getting you are very much an inquisitive child. You're very much an inquisitive child who had their own methods of learning and their own ways of doing things, and you just loved information and how you got it, and so you just sought it out. You just sought out information, but you also wish to have a family that just listened to you and just like paid attention to you and the information that you put out there. Because I really am getting that there was a lot of hurt within your family unit, and maybe there was a lot of emptiness in your heart, and as a child, because you felt like, who do I give this information to? Nobody is listening to you. No one. I feel like you feel like no one is listening to you, and your feelings are extremely hurt. And also, you're a very sensitive kid. I'm getting that you're a very sensitive kid. You're a very nice child, right? You treat people with respect, and you just wanted the same in return. And so, like, I'm definitely getting somebody who is alone, but not by choice. So that tells me right there were no friends here. There was little to no friendships. And if there was, it didn't last very long. Okay, so what I'm getting is that you're often looking for a tribe. You're often looking for at least the 10 of Pentacles and Six of Swords basically are telling me that you were looking for a tribe, and you're looking for somebody um, who thought the world of you, and there was like you're seeking out people. You're seeking out knowledge, but you were also seeking out people who loved you for who you were. Okay, around 6 or 7 years old, you were doing this because you felt like nobody's understanding me right now. I have all these questions about life. I have these questions about this information. Why is no one talking to me? You know, it would not be surprising at all if you were seen as a gifted child or a child who was very nerdy. You know what I mean? And very book smart, and just um, very much into like strange things, and what things that are considered strange. And so you're always experimenting on things. You're often seeing how things worked, and um, very scientific. You're very scientific, and you're very much into science and how science worked, how certain things worked, right? It would not surprise me at all if you were the one outside, trying to snatch worms out of the ground, you know, um, seeing how the sun can burn an ant, something of that nature. Like, how does the sun work? How does the electricity work? Why is water like this? Why does it rain? Like, what type of like, in the very scientific questions, right? So that's what I'm getting from that. I'm also getting, yeah, like I'm getting the moon card right here, for you as a child. Like, you just wanted somebody to talk to you so bad. Like, you just wanted someone to like be with you so bad, and you just had like, because when I think of the moon, I think of the subconscious and the unconscious mind, and you letting go of things, and like that's why they're howling, the dogs, and so the wolf and the looks like a hound, and so what I'm getting is that like you just wanted someone to listen to you and like listen to your deepest thoughts, because you had a lot of them, right? You had a lot of thoughts going on in your mind, and you wanted someone to listen to you. And so you just wanted to howl at times, right? It would not surprise me if you loved stargazing as well. Like, you had so much uh, about the universe that you had so many questions about when you were a child. And so I'm getting like 5 or 6 at this point. At 5 or 6 years old, you used to look out in the mirror or look out of the window, and you had so many questions about the moon and the universe. You're a very thoughtful child. So a lot of the questions that you had, the deepest ones, because you didn't have a word for it, you feel like people would not want to understand anyway. Um, you just kept them to yourself. You definitely kept them to yourself. And you sometimes wondered whether or not you were of this earth, is what I'm getting. You sometimes wonder whether or not, why am I even here? You did not fit in. You didn't feel as if you fit in with your family or your family unit or anyone on this earth rather. You just felt like you were different from everyone else. And you didn't even know why or how you felt that way. You just did. Would not surprise me at all if you were like into science fiction as a child as well. I'm getting Star Trek, you know what I mean? Because they used to show reruns on. I'm getting Andromeda as well. I don't know whether or not, or Battlestar Galactica. I don't know if anyone watched those or the original series or the reruns, but I'm definitely getting like you watch those shows because you felt like those characters and their storylines and the fact that they were in outer space resonated with you. You really felt that way, and so you've definitely felt outerworldly or otherworldly, and you did not know how to explain that to people, so you kept that to yourself, and you wanted to tell people and just could not. Now, as far as your teenage years, what I got here is that like, whew, Jesus. So you just felt like, oh wow, I'm getting like 18, 19 years old at this point. Or is it? Hold on. Okay, so I'm getting like 18, 19. You just felt like, what do I do here? What like if you're seriously, you feel like, because this is Three of Wands, and Three of Wands is about like asking for help, um, you know, calling out, to spirit or calling out to your higher power, asking for hope, looking for hope, and you felt like I just felt like this hopelessness, like you felt like you didn't have none, and there was like no sense of direction in regards to what you wanted to do for yourself in the long run, just simply because like you never had those, you just never had the opportunity necessary. I'm assuming like, um, yeah, like I'm getting like, you didn't know what your options were. I'm getting like throughout your teenage years, whether it be junior high school, I'm getting by the time you got out, ready to graduate from high school, you just had no general sense of direction because no one saw you as a person with options. You were a very intelligent child. I'm getting that you were a very intelligent child, and a very thoughtful child, but didn't know how to show it. And your grades didn't show it, and so people didn't know what to do with you. People didn't know what to say to you. People didn't look at you and they didn't see potential. Is what I'm getting because you had a different way of thinking. The school system that you were a part of really was not for you, to be honest with you. It really wasn't because you think you're more of a creative child in regards to, um, the way you see the world, rather than someone who is like quote unquote logical or analytical. I'm not getting an analytical. Um, I'm not getting anything about analytical stuff with you, right? You were just very interested in learning information, but sometimes you felt like you could not retain that information, maybe, and so, or you didn't know how to like. Um, I guess you didn't know what questions to ask as far as like you weren't even interested in what you were doing. I just felt like with the information that you had in school, you weren't really interested in, to be honest with you. And so by the time you graduate from high school, people didn't know your guidance counselors and things of that nature. Even your parents didn't know what to do with you. And you didn't know what to do with yourself. And so there was like this lack of hope that you have within yourself. But what people do not realize is that the school system that is in place, group number two, it just wasn't for you. You're not stupid. You're not lazy. You just have a different way of thinking and doing things. And you're in the school system. For those who resonate with this message, really didn't like y'all didn't know, y'all weren't supported. Your way of thinking wasn't supported. Okay, I'm also getting like with you, like there was a lot of bullying and there was a lot of oh wow, a lot of racism too. I'm getting that there's some racism that went on in your life as well. So I don't like you're. So you're definitely a person of color, a black person or a non-black person of color who went through these experiences, and you just felt like that for whatever reason, like this ain't for you. Like as far as the school system, because of your race and because you're not your race but ethnicity. Let's be real, because race isn't real. You know, because of your ethnicity and your social economic status, um, and the fact that you were just possibly going through a lot of trauma, going through a lot of stuff. I'm also, people didn't put two and two together, like, because there was no talk about trauma, maybe at around your time. If there was, definitely not in the school you were in. So there was a lot of things going on. Also, I am getting a learning disability, a learning disorder, or neurodivergence. I hate the word disorder. Neurodivergence. There was some neurodivergence going on. So maybe you had like undiagnosed ADD. Maybe you had undiagnosed autism. Maybe you had dyslexia, something of that nature. But you definitely didn't think like everyone else, and you couldn't wrap your head around what was going on anyway. You didn't care. And again, like I am really getting some wires crossed with you, like neurologically. So that's one of the reasons why you possibly failed in school, right? So here's the Six of Cups right here. The Six of Cups is basically like looking at the past, being at peace with the past, but it's reversed. And so what I'm getting from this is that you were not at peace with your childhood. So I'm definitely getting like late teens, early 20s around this time. There's a lot that happened in your childhood that you're not at peace with. You don't have, at this point, you just feel like you're just going through the motions in regards to being around your parents. There's no talk about the trauma. There's no talk about what happened, between you and your parents. There's no talk about a lot of things. And that's what affected you academically as well. You were going through so much that there was just no, in your home life, that there was just no talk um, about what happened, no discussion whatsoever. And so you don't know how to feel about your people. Basically, what that card is saying, you don't know how to feel about your people. You don't know how to feel about the past. You just know that something's off. You just know that something's off about what happened, and you just know that what you went through and what you've witnessed was not normal. It was not right. Right? It wasn't normal. It wasn't healthy at all for your mental and emotional health, for your physical health. It was just not okay, and no one's speaking about it. No one's talking about it, and y'all need to talk. That's what the mentality. That's what I'm getting. Like, some of y'all needed to talk, and you didn't know what to say, so you're just like, forget it then. Like, I don't know how to I don't know how to have this information. I don't know what to do with this information. I don't know what to do with what I've observed over the years, right? And so, Ace of Pentacles right here is about stability. Is definitely, it could be about finances, but it's about stability. You are looking for stability. You're looking for stability, y'all. You're looking for like some sort of answer as to why was my childhood the way it was? Why are we not talking about this? Why were we so fucking unstable when I was growing up? What happened? You're looking for answers. You're looking for some stability, and you're also looking, again, you're looking for answers. You're looking for a tribe, okay? And that involves you having stability in your life, right? That involves like being around people and being in situations and things of that nature. Like, you're tired of being like ungrounded, right? You're tired of being up in the air. You will like stability mentally, emotionally, and even physically. I'm getting like you just want to stay in one place. You don't like all this moving around. You don't like all this, going back and forth. You just want answers, and you want stability, and you just want to stay in one place. And I'm getting like and you hate the fact. I'm getting that you resent, not even hate, but you resent the fact that your life is so chaotic at around this time. Like, in your late teens, early 20s. I'm getting 25 with this card. Um, Early to mid 20s in this card, right? That you're so upset by the fact and so resentful of the fact that you just feel like so ungrounded, that you start to blame yourself for what happened. And so what I'm getting from this is that, when it comes to your personal life and when it comes to who you are as a person, there's a lack of information, and it bothers you. It's as if like you don't know who you are and what you're here for, and you are very upset about it. Okay, Most people in their 20s, their early to mid 20s, they don't know what to do, right? That's normal. That is very normal. That's the normal experiences, a typical experience of a lot of 20-year-old people. However, that's not how you feel, because again, you feel worldly. You don't feel like everybody else. You don't want to be like everybody else, and because you're not, and you feel very out of place is what I'm getting. You feel very out of place and very discombobulated, and you don't know why you feel this way. You're struggling with that lack of stability. When in actuality, you're going to be stable. You're very much stable. You just have to sit down somewhere and really think about your childhood and um, and where you ended up. Okay, so it's just like, because it's come from a couple of things. This card, for one, and when you think, and also this is a squirrel here, and squirrels are very stable, right? They're always thinking about the future because they're always getting ready for the winter. Even though they're in the here and now, they're always planning, right, and always doing things. They always have a strategy of some sort. And what I'm getting from this card is that you don't feel like you have a strategy. You feel like you're just living, right? And that's not what you're looking for. You are looking for stability. And so, like, yeah, you're very worldly. And that's one of the reasons why there was so much confusion, right? Um, you're not like everybody else. You weren't meant at that time to be stable. You weren't meant at that time to, to settle down and be stable, like what you saw, other people doing. Like, because you were looking at other people and saying, like, why am I not like that? Well, for one, I really am getting neurodivergence. I am getting a combination of that and some trauma you went through, and also you just don't think like everybody else. You weren't meant to do everything like everybody else, right? So that's what I'm getting from that. Now, as far as the shadows, the shadow work, um, or the shadow self rather, what was going on there. So I definitely get that you struggled a lot. But because I'm like, this is the sixth of fire, and what I'm getting from this is like, excuse me, I'm getting like the hierophant from this, but is reversed. There's like a sense of emptiness in not knowing what the information. You don't like you. It's as if like you have a hard time moving forward, and you feel like you don't even know that. Thank you so much. You don't even realize that you're smart anyway. You're intelligent anyway. You really do believe that you're not smart enough. You really do believe that you are completely stupid and you don't know what to do for yourself. And that, intellectually, you are not like everybody else intellectually. That's what you're thinking. Like, I'm a complete failure because I am not able to retain all this information and know everything. So this is the shadow. This is about you feeling that lack of intelligence, right? So your inner child is basically telling you to pretty much look at um, to examine, to examine your definition of intelligence, your definition of intellect, and what that looks like. When you think of intellectuals and when you think of intelligence, what does that look like? Because the stories you are telling yourself in regards to your intelligence is that because you're not able to speak a certain way, act a certain way, think, of certain things, quick on the draw, that somehow there's something wrong with you. When in actuality, and let me be honest with you, trauma actually affects the brain. Okay, it rewires the brain so it can cope with what's going on, which means that your frontal lobe is not as developed as your limbic system. Okay, so your short-term memory is actually very affected by trauma. Keep that in mind the next time you doubt your intelligence, especially if you have a history of trauma, because what happens is that our limbic system is overactivated, while our frontal lobe, our prefrontal lobe cortex, isn't developed enough. Okay, so we're not able, people who have struggled with trauma are not able to retain information. They're not able to focus. They're not able to concentrate. They're not able to make a rational decision. They're not able to differentiate, an actual threat from a perceived one. Because like if your limbic system is overactive, everything's a threat, right? If you are in survival mode, how can you think rationally? How are you able to focus and concentrate? How are you able to retain information or recall information when you are in survival mode? Your brain is in survival mode. So before you call yourself stupid and call yourself and automatically assume that you ain't doing shit right, please remember that trauma affects the prefrontal cortex. It affects our frontal lobe, where you are able to make, even your executive functioning is affected by trauma. You're not able to make a rational decision or concentrate long enough to sit down and make a list of things to do for yourself. It's just not possible when you are like discombobulated like that. So this is basically saying like stop questioning your intelligence. Stop. Stop doing this. Stop. Trauma fucked your brain up. And you get and if it messed it rewired your, it didn't fuck it up, it rewired it. So your short-term memory is messed up. It for real, it's like is very much affected. Now again, it can be changed around though once you start doing affirmation work and start really working on your trauma. Exercise, or uh, because movement actually helps with memory and concentration, because that energy is just not, sitting within you. Okay, so you also have the cynical here, right? I'm getting that the shadow part of you is very much a gatekeeper, and not in a way that's healthy for the community. This is a way for you to shut people out. For whatever reason you're shutting people out. It's as if you don't want them to know the real you. And also, you're retaining it, like you're keeping information from people, whether by yourself, information about yourself, or information about something about you or what you know. But basically, what this card is saying is that do not keep information to yourself, whatever that looks like. You are not to keep information to yourself. And so you are also to ask your question, in addition to questioning your definition of intelligence, also question why do you feel that it's okay for you at sometimes to keep information to yourself, whether it be about you or other people. Like, what are you doing? Like, does that give you power? What is the payoff? Because I'm getting that for a lot of you, retaining keeping information from people or retaining some sort of information. Thank you. You feel that sometimes, for some of you, you feel like retaining information gives you power, and you have power over people. And so you feel like you're better. Sometimes you feel like you're better than certain people because you know certain things as opposed to other folks. So what is the payoff in acting that way? Is it an insecurity that you have around your intelligence? Is it, where is that? If so, where did that insecurity start? Also, yeah, like basically, like this is about being a gatekeeper and keeping information from people. I'm getting like you are to stop doing that as well, because information is to be free. Information is not to be used as a tool to gatekeep. It's not to be used as a tool to oppress or to demean anyone. So ask yourself, like, where is that coming from? I'm also getting this card here as far as the shadow self. Okay. This is a 2 of air. And so what I'm getting is that, like, sometimes you feel like you're two different people. You're one way with this group and one way with another. You have to find it. And also I'm getting that as in regards to you being a teacher and a leader, it's okay for you to have a duality. It's okay for your feminism to be ratchet. It's okay for you to curse somebody out sometimes when you're man enough. We're going to have to get out of this love and light bullshit. And this is for spiritual people. It's okay for you to do your shadow work. It's okay for you to be a multifaceted human being. And it's okay for you to make mistakes. And it's okay for you to have an element of darkness to you that you can use in order to heal. You don't have to tap into the darkness and go straight up dark side or whatever, like you're Darth Vader. But what I am saying is that what this card is indicating, as far as your shadows, is that some of y'all are very afraid of looking a certain way as a leader. So what does a leader look like? When you think of a leader, what does that entail? What comes through? What comes through? Okay? Because I really am getting that, like, in order for you to be an effective leader and to be an influential leader, you are to be honest with people. You are to be honest with yourself. You are to be honest with your intentions and what you are doing and what you're doing with this information. That's why this card came through, because as a leader, it's as a leader, you with certain information, you are to not only retain information and not give it to people, because that tells me right there, like, when leaders do that and they feel like they have the answer or they are the end all and be all, that's not leadership. That's intellectual elitism, and that's using privilege against people who don't have it. So that's one thing. Now, as far as that's enough of that, as far as the shadows. Group 2, you have a lot going on as far as you being a scribe and a leader. Like, in order for you to be an effective scribe and a leader, you are to ask yourself what intellectualism looks like to you. Why are you keeping information from people? Or why do you feel like as a leader you are to keep information from people? And why do you feel like you are to be one thing and not another? I also got here, as far as your destiny and your purpose. What does it look like according to your inner child? And I got the mirror. It's time for you to look at yourself. Your purpose is to look at yourself, to look at your flaws, and to love yourself. To definitely like look at yourself and ask yourself some questions in regards to how do you feel about yourself. Because in a sense, you being an intellectual became a personality type. Why is that? Mirror work and looking at yourself, like truly looking at all your flaws and looking and doing a lot of work around intellectualism and your definition of it, and actually help you become a better teacher and a better leader. Because you're definitely meant to teach. You're definitely meant to use your information to empower yourself. To empower yourself, you can empower other people. But in order for you to do that, you have to empower yourself and ask yourself, why is intellectualism and looking a certain way or being a certain leader so important to you? Where is that coming from? Right? So that's when you're supposed, this card right here is asking you to do some inner reflection. Do some inner reflection, do some mirror work, and ask yourself, ask your inner child. You are to remind your inner child that it's okay to make mistakes. That's okay to ask, to ask questions. It's okay to not know all the answers. You're not stupid. Because I feel like there's some overcompensation going on. You're not stupid. You're not lazy. You just thought differently. You just thought differently. You think in color. You have another way of learning. You have another way of learning. Tell your inner child they have another way of learning that doesn't have, that the school system has failed to see. And there's nothing wrong with them. Nothing wrong with them at all. They just have to use their information or use their imagination or find other ways to retain information, but they are not to sit here and believe or even think that in order for them to be effective, they are to be neurotypical. That's not how everyone works. And it's okay. Now, as far as words of encouragement, you definitely got the circle and you got the gatherer. Now, the circle right here is upside down. So it's basically saying that, again, you don't have to know all the information. You do not have to know all the information. We are all interconnected. And because we're interconnected, we can learn from one another. We can learn from one another. We can learn from our mistakes, which will become lessons. Everything is to be full circle when you realize that you are not the only one with answers. You can learn from other people and people can learn from you. So please take the pressure off of yourself in regards to what you can do with this information, how this information is going to go. It's okay. You also have the gatherer, okay? Again, you do not have to gather the information. Know that you're a leader, but you can also be a follower. And what I mean by that is that how about this? You can be a leader, but you can also be a student. You're being asked to be a student, to gather your strength and courage around your intellectualism. In this case, your intellectualism, gather up the courage to know your worth, regardless of the information you receive and how you retain it. Gather this information, but also be a student as well. It's okay for you to be a student. Okay? So, the last word of advice for your inner child or from your inner child is raccoon freeze. So wiggle, 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 and then freeze. Be as still as you can. Don't move a muscle. So what I'm getting from this is like, again, basically put yourself in a position to also be still, not present, but still. Okay. It's okay to still your mind, like to be, in a sense, quiet your mind. You don't have to think all the time. That's what I'm getting from this card. Like, you are not to think all the time. It's not up to you to just work and work and work and work and work and study and keep asking questions as if that's all you're here for. It's really okay for you to relax your mind. And one way to do that is through meditation. Go for a walk, to be in the present moment. Do something like mindless, like play a video game. Okay, that's another way for you to still your mind. In fact, take your mind off the fact that you have to learn all the time. Sometimes like just sitting, just breathing is a way of like sitting down in a meditative state and breathing is one way to still your mind, to still the thoughts, to still this notion that you are to be moving and shaking and learning and teaching all the time. That shit's tiring. I'm speaking from personal experience. It's really tiring at times, and it only happens because of overcompensation. And that's another thing too. You're more than what you produce. I want you to know that too, group number two. You're more than what you produce. There's a lot of production. And that's one of the reasons why there's always some constant thinking. There's always some constant thinking about um, what you are to like put out in this world in regards to information. No. That's very tiring. And it's just very dehumanizing at some point. Like it can be very discouraging if you know, put content out and and you feel like nobody's hearing it. So it's best to just still be still. It's okay for you to be still. It's okay for you to quiet your mind and do something outside of learning and outside of producing. So that is all I have for group number two. Um, if you resonate with this message in any way, shape, or form, please, by all means, let me know in the comments. And yeah, we'll be back with group number three. Hey, everybody, welcome back. This is for group number three, right? So y'all have a lot of cards, and it is mad deep. So let's get into it right away. So as far as the attributes, or not the attributes, but the archetypes that came up for group number three, what came up for y'all? Wounded child, the wounded child, and the Avenger. So what I'm getting is that like y'all are some wounded warriors. Your inner child is a wounded warrior. Your inner child is very wounded and feel like there is no justice here. So you learn like what I'm getting as far as like what represents y'all or your inner child is that you have the wounded child here, and the reason being is that you have gone through some things, many things that required injustice, right? It required you to feel a certain way about yourself, act a certain way about yourself, and you just had this whole feeling like no matter what you did, like it wasn't good enough, and people were like, I'm just getting for you is that you just hate injustice. You do not like injustice at all. You're the type of person who uses what happened to you in the past in order for you to drive your push for justice, whether it be political or personal, right? Or spiritual justice, right? Where you just feel like in order for you, right, um, to heal completely, in order for you to just, I'm just getting like, in order for you to feel useful at times, you are to be fighting a fight. Okay. And this really comes from or stems from what you've been through as a child and just feeling unseen and heard. And for those who don't know about the wounded child energy or the wounded child archetype, these folks or these children rather have gone they took the brunt of the abuse. They took the brunt of the abuse. They experienced a lot of the abuse. They are more than likely they are the oldest child, or could have been the oldest child for whatever reason. And so you're the family historian. You have seen and heard things in the family that no one else may not have known about. You were either encouraged or forced to not tell these stories that you have seen, these things, tell stories about these things you have witnessed in your own home or in your immediate environment. And as a result of that, you don't feel seen or heard. And so you have this anger. And when you don't get what you want, you just snap because you are so especially as an adult, you have this tendency to fight for yourself. And there's like, I'm feeling it in my stomach right now. Y'all, there's like this sense of anxiety that comes with um you're just it's just like that's where your fire is. Your fire is in your stomach, and your fire in your solar plexus. And so I'm just getting like, your anger is your power. Your anger is your power. You're Because you were not able to express all your emotions when you were a child. And so a lot of y'all are walking around as adults, as wounded people. And so or have that wounded child energy within you still. This is also one of the reasons, though, on the flip side, this is one of the reasons why um you become an avenger, right? You become an avenger, and you become the wounded, what is called the wounded warrior. You're basically using your pain and suffering in your fight for justice, right? Because you're very much a fighter. You're using that fight for justice to help other people. So you're the type of person who does not like bullying, or some sort of injustice towards certain demographics. You're more likely to get politically involved, whether it be like a liberal or grassroots, or whatever. You're more likely to speak up for the underdog. You're more likely to, be a child advocate, right? Because you don't want another child to go through what you went through as a child. So you are very much loud when it comes to children. Okay, you may be, an animal rights activist, something to where you're able to use that energy to help other people and to fight injustice and to break that cycle for other people. But what I'm also getting is that in order for you to like you have this tendency, this fire, and everything's a fight, right? Everything's a fight for injustice, and like you get tired. I can feel it in my eye. I see it, feel it in my left eye. It hurts. It's about to pop out of my head. That tells you right there, like you have a lot of stress in your mind. You have a lot of stress in your head. Um, you have the tendency to overthink, and you get so angry that sometimes um, your eyes start to hurt, right? You get blinded by anger. You get blinded by it sometimes, group number three, and you get tired and fatigued. But basically, you get so angry and so rageful sometimes. Either y'all can't see straight or think straight, or you black out at times because you get so angry, especially when something doesn't work out in your favor, right? That's why you have the Avenger card as well. Adventures of the people who are always the hero. That's another thing about the wounded child energy, wounded child rather, inner child, is that a lot of you are heroes in your own mind, right? And so that's where the Avenger comes from. You don't. This is why one of the reasons why you become child advocates, and you become an activist, and you are out here fighting the power of Black Lives Matter, or quote unquote Blue Lives Matter, or whatever the case may be, is because you have that sense of what the spirit was like. Don't even do that. Why would you even bring up Blue Lives Matter? You know what I mean? So I apologize for that. But basically, what I'm getting at though is that y'all pull the Avenger card, y'all become Zorro, Superman, Superwoman, um, Iron Man, Captain America. Y'all can become all these superheroes in your mind, right? Because you don't want anyone to feel the injustice or experience the injustice that you have. And you feel like with your experiences and your anger and your passion and your fire, you're able to like help these folks out. But and that's fine, good, whatever. But you're gonna burn that just like any other fire. It burns out, it fizzles, right? And so that's what happens to a lot of y'all. Y'all get so angry, and it just burns energy. And so what ends up happening is that you burn yourself out. Being the Avenger, being the hero. That's one thing about the wounded child, that is to be that basically is to be healed, basically. You know what I mean? It's to be examined. Is to be looked at closely. Like, where did that energy come from? So a lot of y'all have it does not surprise me that these two cards came up, the wounded child and the Avenger, because a lot of y'all feel that way. I used to feel that way. I still do every once in a while because I'm the oldest child. I have that wounded energy, like wounded child energy, carry that around for quite some time. Be mad at everything that didn't go my way. Felt like my injustice, my childhood story was not being heard, or there was no justice towards against the people that caused me harm. So I was rageful because I felt unseen and unheard, and there's a lack of distrust, or a lack of trust. Excuse me. There's that lack of trust that a lot of wounded people have. A lot of adults who were once wounded children. There's that lack of trust in the system that plays into a lot of decisions in regards to like politics and tactics around politics, and how you know how you feel about certain people. You know, there's this lack of trust that a lot of us have, that plays a huge part in our decision making when we're calling ourselves helping other people. So that is something to be mindful of as we go forward. And so I ask, like, what do y'all like? What do y'all like as kids, right? Um, and so what I received here, yeah. So as children, what I have gotten for um, group number 3, 5 of Cups. Again, y'all held on to emotions. Y'all held on to so many emotions um, when you were a child because you had to. It was I was like had to cancel and delete that. It was required for you to. You You were one of those children who wanted to speak out so bad against injustice. You you just felt like you had like you saw what was going on. You felt what was going on. You wanted to do something about it. You wanted the pain to stop because you saw who was being affected. You were being affected mentally, emotionally, and even physically at times. But you were not able to speak up. You were not able to speak up. Between the ages of 7 and 8, you were very much one of those people who saw what was going on. Okay, and you had the even though you didn't have the feeling, the word, the vocabulary to express your sadness at times. You know how it felt. You felt that confusion. You felt that depression. You felt that sadness. You felt that rage. Okay, you needed like I'm getting that you needed to talk about it, right? You wanted to talk about it, but you were not able to. So you had all these big emotions. At 7, 8 years old, you had all these huge emotions and didn't know what to do with any of them. So not only did you hold on to some of your baseline emotions as children, you were seen and not heard. You were seen and not heard. You were definitely seen and not heard. You were not allowed. Again, the cups right here, all this water, all this emotion, you were not able to free flow. You were not able to be open and honest about your emotions. There was just no reciprocity, and there was no way to cleanse those emotions from you. There was just no spiritual cleansing from it whatsoever, no emotional cleansing whatsoever. So you just held on to the emotion, right? And whatever spilled over, that's what spilled over. I just now noticed that there's like a little fish right here, as you can see. This little orange thing is a fish. That was pretty much you gasping for air almost. There was a part of you that was gasping for air. That's what I was getting. Like you were gasping for air, and you were not able to do it. You were not able to breathe, right? And so you got Page of Wands here. What I'm getting here is that you were also hard headed and very defiant in a way that was very much a protector, like very protective of other people. So it would not surprise me if a lot of y'all around like I'm getting like 9 or 10, maybe 11, that y'all had siblings, younger siblings that you were placed in the position to protect, and so you were very protective of them. You were very hard headed, and you placed yourself in physically you put yourself in harm's way and received punishment for standing up for your siblings, right? Standing up for your cousins, standing up for somebody. Okay, I'm definitely getting this energy of you being at home and basically catching an ass whooping from a friend, from your mom or your father or your caregiver in general, because you jumped in between them. You became a buffer between them and your siblings whenever there was a punishment. And I'm getting like a lot of y'all had, I'm getting like an angry female energy. So a lot of you had either grandmothers, great grandmothers, or possibly a mother who lashed out at you. There was a lot of a corporal punishment or some sort of punishment where you were physically hit for getting involved in some sort of punishment that was supposed to be for your younger sibling. And so you were just like, the Page of Wands is about not listening, being hard headed, and you were very defiant because there was just no way that you were going to allow someone to hurt your younger siblings. So you were very much the hero type, the Avenger type as a result of this, right? So as a result, you got the King of Wands here, right? The King of Wands is seen as a leader, someone who is very logical, someone who is always strategic and thinking of the next step. And so what you were doing is like, I'm getting from this is that you were calculating the next move as far as the other person's mood and how they were going to treat you. Like it was as if like you were trying to do everything you can to be 3 steps ahead from um for the sake of your siblings, right? You were 3 steps ahead, and you were seen as a leader in regards to like trying to figure out how a parent operates, trying to figure out the next move so you're not pissing a parent off. It's as if like I'm also getting to your younger siblings or whomever, the younger kids who lived with you, lived in the household. They looked up to you. They looked up to you for answers, and they looked up to you for guidance, right? I'm still getting that you are a child at the time, not even adolescent at this point. I'm still getting like 9, 10, 11, 12, like around that area. I'm just getting like before you hit 13 years old, you were at this point seen as a leader, seen as a parent, the second parent, the surrogate parent. You were seen, they went to you in case something happened. Whenever something happened between like the younger siblings, they went to you and to tell on each other, that type of stuff. That's what I'm talking about. You were seen as a leader in the Avenger, and you were the ones who were at this point the surrogate parent and possibly inflicting a lot of harm onto your siblings, um, because that's what you've seen. And so like they you were it was just to the point where you were more possibly more respected um, than the parent was, because you were there for them, right? You were someone of authority. Okay, and as usually happens when you're the oldest sibling, you're seen as the person of authority, among the smaller kids, um, especially in an abusive household or a household where there's like unstable parenting, right? So, so as a result of this, like there's a lot of sneaking around, okay, a lot of tiptoeing around parents. So this is like the Seven of Swords. Um, when I think of the number seven, for some reason I'm thinking perseverance. So there was a lot of survival mechanisms that were going on, coping mechanisms that were going on for the sake of the siblings. And when I see this wolf right here, I'm automatically seeing someone who is very, not exactly vicious, but very much a survivalist, and someone um, who really is like dangerous and does not take any stuff from anybody. So I definitely feel like this is a parent, and you're just tiptoeing around and you're trying to take resources and sneak around. And, I'm just getting a lot of sneaking around in the house. I don't know whether or not you're sneaking for food or you're doing anything to not wake this parent or to disturb them in any way, shape, or form. But there is a lot of tiptoeing in this house for at some point, and you're just doing anything and everything to not piss this parent off. They are known for their anger, they are known for their deception, and they are known for just pretty much being an authoritative individual who uses intimidation and interrogation as a means of instilling fear into you and your siblings. So what I'm getting from the card is that there's a lot of that you're walking on eggshells in regards to this parent and their temperament. Okay. So as far as you like what your inner child has to say about your teenage years, like listen, what I was getting is that uh 10 of swords, right? At this point, like I'm getting that you were pretty much done, right? You were done. You were just wanting things to end. You were tired all the time, and I'm just getting like I'm getting some suicidal tendencies or suicidal ideations. You just wanted somebody to just leave you alone. You were just done. I'm also getting that you were really stabbed in the back and betrayed at some point. I don't know by who, but I definitely felt like whoever you counted on to take care of you and to look out for you, they were very quick to turn on you at the drop of a dime when it was suiting them, right? I'm just getting a lot of heartache as well. Even though you were stabbed in the back, there's a lot of heartache around this time. I'm getting like 14, 15 years old at this point when you were in possibly in high school, um, or high school age rather. And I'm just getting like you were just going through a lot of struggles, and you just felt like no matter what you did, like you just couldn't trust anybody to keep their mouth shut. You could trust anybody um, to not hurt you. Um, excuse me. And I'm just getting that like you just felt like you're what a little bit of confidence that you had in yourself and what a little bit of hope you had in yourself. Because I just realized like on this person's cape, there's a sun. I just feel like there was like this the hope has been dashed from you at this point because of what you've been going through. And a lot of the verbal abuse that you went through as well. I'm also getting that with this card that something was dying inside of you and something is dead inside of you at this point because you feel like I just get this feeling like you want to physically leave this world at this point around 15, 16 years old. That you are wanting to leave this world and have been thinking about suicide or had suicide ideations for quite some time but didn't say anything, right? And there are people who are like asking you, like I'm just getting depression from this card as well. Depression. You were just tired of fighting as well and just couldn't. I'm just that's why this person, this king rather, has a sword in his hand. He was fighting something. You were constantly fighting something. And it was sometimes it was just too much for you. There was just too many things going on. And so you didn't you just there's sometimes there were times where you're like, I just someone needs to kill me. Either I am gonna die by my own hands or someone has to take me out because I'm done. So that's what I was getting from that, and that's why the Knight of Cups is actually one of my favorite cards because it talks about like writing for peace or um, having hope, within yourself. And I'm just getting like, nah. I'm also like getting 16, 17 years old in this one, just like 15, 16, 16, 17. There was just no hope. You were just like, why am I being nice to people? Why am I here? Why am I here? There's no why. You just felt very alone and very sad. And that's why I'm getting depression from this one as well. Depression and anxiety and just like feeling like as if you just wanted to go home and stay there. You did not you seriously felt like I don't want to interact with the human race any longer. Everybody's mean and everybody is like trying to get me and it's just like there's this brewing anger that I also feel within you too. But at this one point, you're just like, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you were numb or you didn't have any connections to your emotions at this point whatsoever because you were just pretty much done at this point. Like emotionally anyway, you didn't want to, you just got tired of it, right? So, Two of Swords here. Um, you're asking yourself, what do I do here? What do I do here? Because there's no, again, with you, just like with group number two, you also had no sense of direction. You also had no sense of direction as to what you were supposed to be doing. You didn't even know who you were at this point. You felt like your life wasn't yours anymore. It belonged to somebody else. It belonged to somebody else. I'm getting what I'm getting from this is that it would not surprise me at all if, again, you were the surrogate parent, and that role has been thrusted upon you for so long that you are expected to give up parts of your life during your teenage years, right? Um, to be the babysitter and the surrogate parent, that you are to like make a lot of sacrifices. You had to grow up so fast, that when it came to what you required and what you desired, um, you were very much you were very much a protector, or being placed in a position to be the protector. So now you're thinking about everybody else, and so now you don't even know what you want, or more likely who you are as a person outside of the Avenger role, the hero role, or the wounded child role. Okay, or that of the surrogate parent. So yeah, I'm just getting like Ace of Wands. um, you don't know what action to take to get out of the situation. You're not even aware of your options. So you're just like, am I going to get out of here? Am I going to ever be free? Am I going to be like this for the rest of my life? Is my life going to be like this for the rest of my life? Is this going to happen? Is this for real? The fuck? Like what's happening here? I'm all in the sun. I'm getting that you started to cocoon yourself from other people as a result of what was happening to you. You began to shut down because you feel like there was just no sense of hope, and you didn't know who you were, like, and what you were about, and what you were here for. What I'm getting is that you just shut down. You shut down. You shut down your real self in order to be like everyone else, in order to be what other people in your family was requiring of you. And as a result of that, like, your strength is like, you didn't have the courage to say, because this is the strength card, like, you didn't have the courage to say no. You didn't have the courage at some points to say, I can't do this. Like, there was a part of you, a huge part of you, group number three, that became a people pleaser. A lot of you have become people pleasers and just put all of your dreams on hold in order for you to be the surrogate mother or the surrogate father or the surrogate parent or whatever that looks like to you. It's as if like something in you just shut down. You're like, this is it now. You know what I mean? But again, there was like, you got yourself, like, I'm just getting like, at this point, I'm getting like 18, 19 years of age with this card. I'm just feeling like it's like you really felt like your personality, or whatever personality you had for yourself as a child at one point, it just shifted. You had to hide it. You felt like you had to hide it in order to be what other people required of you. It's a form of manipulation on the parent's part. It's a form of manipulation on the part of the adults who are around you, because they were not ready, or they were not able or willing to take the responsibility of a parent. They were not able to take the responsibility, or unwilling to take the responsibility, or hold themselves accountable for pretty much snatching away your childhood. It's no wonder that you are very much wounded. And when you grew up as an adult, you now have this wounded child energy because your needs were not met, your emotional needs were not met when you were growing up. And so now there's this element of freedom that you have at around this time. But you still feel trapped in some way, shape, or form. You still feel trapped. In fact, I'm getting that you are fighting for your freedom at this point. You're fighting for it. That's what I'm getting for it from this. So the shadow is for group number 3 is that you are not at peace. The shadow part of you, this is actually 8 of water. And what I'm getting is that you are not at peace. You are angry all the time, sad all the time. You're everything but peaceful. Everything but peaceful. And so what this card is basically saying upside down is that this is the time for the shadow. This is your shadow attribute. So basically, you are to ask yourself, group number 3, when you think of peace, what does that look like? What is it like to not be the wounded child? What if you were to be any sort of child, what would that be like? What does peace look like to you? What does freedom look like to you? What if you gave up the role of being a leader? What would that look like? What would you if you were to give up the role, the archetype of being the avenger and the wounded child? What does that look like to you? If you can have, so here's the thing, if you imagine yourself, think to yourself the childhood you wish to have. What does that look like? Because that is what your inner child is looking for. That's what that version of you is looking for. And that is what you are to receive for yourself. Because you are to let go of the wounded child archetype and the avenger archetype, because for one, not everyone needs your help. And when people don't do what you want them to do, you get angry. You get frustrated and impatient with people. Because even though you are able to be this avenger type and fight for the underdog and all this other stuff, there is an element of you who gets very upset when people don't do what you want them to do. So if you were to let go of the wounded child energy and the avenger energy, what would that look like to you? What would it look like? What type of childhood do you wish you had? When you think of the ideal childhood, what does that look like? I guarantee you that that's what your inner child wants. That's what they have been looking for quite some time. This is one of the reasons why a lot of y'all are having a hard time relaxing. You have a hard time letting go of the anger, because a deep part of you, an unhealed part of you, for one, enjoys being needed, for one. And I'm also getting this keeps you in a victim mode. You have this victim mentality because you see a lot of yourself in the people that you are calling yourself trying to help. You can't help anybody if you're there with them. You can't help anybody if you're wounded, right? It's not possible, because by the end of the day, it's not about the person you're considering yourself helping. It's about you being useful and you seeing yourself in the people that you are being of service to. So again, what does it look like when you let go of the avenger archetypes and the wounded child archetype? What would that look like to you? What reaction what do you feel when you even think about letting go of those archetypes? What goes through your mind? Because sooner or later, you for your own mental and emotional health, for your own spiritual health, and for your physical health, you are to let go of those archetypes. So, what is your destiny? What is your destiny according to your inner child? Divination. It doesn't necessarily think about. It doesn't necessarily. It doesn't necessarily um, talk about like your you having divination. But what it does talk about is like you seeing a life outside of your trauma. Your destiny is about seeing a life outside of being a protector, seeing a life outside of being a wounded child, seeing a life and envisioning a life outside of you being so wounded that you feel like you have to um, jump down, someone's throat when you don't get your way. Envisioning a life outside of jumping to people's rescue, jumping outside of you being some sort of martyr. Do you know what I mean? Like that is your destiny. That is your purpose. Your purpose is to see yourself, group number 3, outside of the wounded child energy and the avenger energy. Because there's more to life than that. There's more to life than that. And so what I received here as far as words of encouragement, and you have the blade. You are to cut through a lot of that victimhood, that self-victimhood, cut through a lot of the bullshit that you're telling yourself in regards to who you are as a person. This is time to redefine who you are as outside of the wounded child energy and the avenger energy. Rediscover who you really are, because what happened was that when you were looking out for your siblings and babysitting your siblings and all this other stuff, you got lost. The real you got lost in the in this mode of or this role of the surrogate parent or the protector or the avenger. The true self became lost in it. And so you have every right to feel your emotions. You have every right to rediscover your emotions. You have every right to be angry, as a means of healing. You are meant to cry. You are meant to do all this other stuff, right? But what I am getting is that in order to do that, you got to let this go. And you're going to have to cut through by doing a lot of inner child reflection work, doing introspection work, and also doing a lot of letting go, a lot of you know working and dismantling the stories that you have in your unconscious mind about you being a constant warrior, or being obligated to just drop everything that you're doing and help the first person who looks like they're in trouble. They're very capable of taking care of themselves. I'm pretty sure that the person that you are trying to help, going to help, they have their own support system. They don't really require your presence. And it's okay for you to say no. That you are working on yourself. No is pretty much an African an African proverb. There is a shirt that says no. Sentence, African proverb. Yes. Say no. Say no. That's what the blade is saying. Like, it's time for you to cut through the self-victimization, the cut through the stories that you have told yourself time and time again in regards to your usefulness. It's time for you to let all of that go by dismantling your unconscious mind and doing a lot of inner child energy work by saying, like, look, telling your inner child that you have a life outside. You're outside of being a warrior. Your life does not have to be this way. It's not meant to be this way. There's a life outside of trauma, and I trust you, and I hear you, and I'm here to hear your story. I'm here to hear your story. This is one of the reasons why you hold on to the Avenger wounded archetype, um, archetype, the wounded child archetype, is because no one has sat down to hear your story. No one has sat down to hear your story, to hear your inner child story about how they're hurting out here, how they're hurting because of how they were treated and how they were being seen or regarded. They are to hear those stories. They are to earn your trust. You are to earn their trust so they can continuously talk. But in order for you to do that, you have to please understand that you are not here to just be a wounded child. You're not here to just be in trauma and to jump into people's faces and say, let me help you. No, you ain't. No, it's okay for you to help people, but not to the point where you are out here, being a martyr or or being angry at someone who doesn't do anything for you or do anything that you say, or you're meant to be more than a caretaker. Your childhood was taken away from you because of parents who weren't trying to be parents. So please this is a time for you to take that childhood back and use that inner child energy to heal. So, words of advice, Sleepy Cow, is get comfortable and lay on the ground. What are you thinking about? Can you try not thinking at all? I'm just getting for you. Relax. I'm getting for you to rediscover your body and to rediscover yourself. What are your likes? What are your dislikes? What are your interests? When was the last time you actually slept? I'm getting that some of y'all are tired as hell. Y'all out here worried about everybody else. You burning your energy. What does sleep for you looks like? What does that look like to you? The purpose is to be in touch with your feelings and be in touch with you and be in touch with your body, be in touch with the way you think, be in touch with your interests. What does that look like? What do you look like on the inside? Who are you on the inside? It's about finding out who you are outside the role of caretaker, outside the role of the avenger, outside of the role of the village mother, the village parent, all that other strata of that. Like, what does that look like to you? Because there's a life outside of trauma. There's a life outside of being wounded. You understand? Like, there is a life that it requires you to find happiness. That's within you anyway. You just got to get through all the bullshit. Okay. So that is all I have for group number 3. That was like a really intense reading. So if you watch this and you resonate with what the message was, by all means, let me know in the comments. Also, please click on the the like button, and share it. You know what I mean? So that is it. So that was a lot. That was so a lot. Yeah, I'm very worried about y'all. Number 3, I'm very worried about y'all. So please, heed the message, right? Heed the message. And so let's get done and roll out. So that is all for the pick a card reading for this week. Thank you so much for watching. If you resonate with any of the messages, by all means, let me know in the comments. You can also click the like button. Also subscribe to the channel so you'll never miss another video. If you're on social media, I am also on Facebook. I'm also on Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. So you can find me, Inner Child Collective, or just find me on Twitter as Hobby Mason. Also, if you listen to podcasts at all, please go ahead and watch or watch and read, because they're both on. They're both available on video and audio. My podcast, Inner Child Collective, always talking about the inner child and things like intersectionality. I have the occasional guest on there, and I also have a Q&A, so a session as well. So if you listen to podcasts at all, you can go and find the Inner Child Collective on iTunes, uh, uh, or wherever you listen to your podcast. So I think that's it. Oh, I also provide services just as the ones you saw today. If you are interested in getting an inner child archetype reading or general reading, or even like a personalized bedtime story, go to www.innerchildcollective.com and just book an appointment, and we'll go from there. All right. So thank you so much again for being here with me and being patient with me. I really appreciate y'all. I really do. And so until next time, peace. See ya.